Life, in its bewildering dance, often twirls us through dizzying highs and crushing lows. It can be the benevolent sun, showering us with golden moments of laughter and joy, only to morph into a tempestuous downpour, drenching our spirits without so much as a warning rumble. Some souls navigate this unpredictable terrain with a slow, deliberate grace, while others sprint headlong, chasing fleeting dreams. Then there are those who remain rooted, clinging to the hope of a dawn that may never break. For some, the bitter tang of a lemon offered by life is an invitation to concoct a sweet, refreshing lemonade. But for others, the same offering is perceived as a deliberate insult, a stinging degradation of their very being. This is the story of Amaka, a young woman ensnared in the intricate web of survival. Driven by the stark realities of her existence, she made the wrenching decision to leave the familiar embrace of her village for the sprawling, unforgiving city of Aba, all in a desperate bid to hustle. Her heart held two fervent desires: to further her education, a beacon guiding her future, and to send precious Naira back home, a lifeline for her widowed mother and younger siblings. But was life a fair arbiter in her journey? Has she made the right choice in trading the tranquility of her village for the chaotic pulse of the city? Or will she instead be forced to swallow the bitterest dregs of existence? For sometimes, destruction, trouble, and the deepest darkness arrive cloaked in shimmering gold, their treacherous nature masked by a deceptive silver lining. Settle in and allow yourself to be drawn into Amaka's captivating tale, where suspense lurks around every corner, where hatred simmers beneath polite smiles, where intrigue shadows every interaction, where laughter offers fleeting respite, and where the fragile spark of love flickers against the harsh winds of fate. The fluorescent lights of sparkle electronics, hummed with a nervous energy, a stark contrast to the sweltering heat that clung to the corrugated iron roofs outside. The air inside, thick with the scent of dust and the faint metallic tang of circuit boards, felt less like a heaven and more like a gilded cage shared by three vastly different women. Tonia and Chioma, with their gravity-defying wigs and nails that clicked like tiny castanets, were the reigning divas of this small domain. Their laughter was a sharp, bright sound that often sliced through the quiet hum of the fans when the erratic power supply dared to cooperate. Their thumbs danced across the glowing screens of their phones, their eyes glued to the corrugated realities of Instagram, oblivious of the world beyond their perfectly glossed lips. They moved with an air of practiced nonchalance, their every gesture a carefully orchestrated performance. Then there was Amaka. She was the quiet counterpoint to their vibrant symphony. Her plain ankle-length skirts whispered against the dusty floor as she moved, and her rubber slippers made no sound at all. Her hair, woven into neat, unassuming cornrows, framed the face that held a quiet strength. She greeted every customer with a respectful bow, her gaze direct and earnest, and often, without a word, she would take the worn broom and sweep the gritty tiles, a silent offering of diligence. That village fowl, Tonia, would hiss under her breath, her perfectly sculpted eyebrows arching with disdain. Are you even sure she knows how to use a smartphone, talk less of WhatsApp? Chioma would snort, her attention still fixed on a celebrity's latest escapade. A true bush girl, always acting like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, so fake humble. Their eyes would flick towards Amaka, a mixture of pity and something akin to resentment flickering within them. But Amaka remained an enigma to them. She carried the quiet dignity of Umuofo, a village nestled deep in the heart of eastern Nigeria, a place where the rhythm of life was dictated by the seasons and the bonds of community ran deep. She had come to Aba not for the fleeting validation of online likes or the superficiality of slay contest. She was here with a singular purpose: to work tirelessly, to save diligently, and to send every hard-earned Naira back to the waiting hands of her family. The whispers and the snares were mere background noise, insignificant against the quiet hum of her determination. Wednesday arrived with the oppressive weight of a humid blanket. The air hung heavy and still, the silence punctuated only by the distant drone of a generator from a neighboring shop, a stark reminder of the ever-absent national power grid. Tonia and Chioma, their usual effervescence, dulled by the heat, leaned against the dusty counter, their energy as drained as a forgotten phone battery. Then, the bell above the door jingled, announcing the arrival of a stranger. He was tall, his script shirt clinging to him with dampness, beads of sweat tracing past down his temples. His eyes, though kind, held a weariness that spoke of a long and arduous journey. "Good afternoon," he said, his voice a smooth baritone, laced with exhaustion. "I urgently need a power bank, and if it's not too much trouble, a bottle of cold water." Tonia's perfectly painted lips curled downwards. "This is an electronics shop, not a market for selling water," she declared, her tone leaving no room for argument. Chioma, without even glancing up from the mesmerizing scroll of her phone screen, chimed in. "There's a kiosk down the street if you're dying of thirst." Their dismissal was swift, their lack of empathy palpable. But Amaka straightened up, a flicker of concern in her dark eyes. "Welcome, sir," she said softly, a genuine smile gracing her lips. "Please come in and have a look. I can show you some reliable options." She turned to her colleagues, her voice gentle but firm. "Biko, could one of you please fetch a bottle of water for him while I attend to his needs?" Tonia scoffed, fanning herself dramatically with a discarded price tag. "Under the scorching sun, my wig will melt. I have no strength for such errands." Chioma waved a dismissive hand. "If water is your problem, then carry your own hand, go buy am now." Their refusal hung in the air, a stark display of their self-absorption. Without a word of argument, Amaka slipped off her rubber slippers and moved with a surprising swiftness. 5 minutes later, she returned, a condensation-beaded bottle of chilled water in her hand. She carefully wiped the moisture away with a tissue and offered it to the man. "You really didn't have to," he said, his voice touched by her unexpected kindness. "How much do I owe you?" "It's nothing, sir," she replied simply, her gaze earnest. "You look like you needed it." A slow, genuine smile spread across his face, a smile that crinkled the corners of his tired eyes and held a hint of something more. "I am Kenechukwu," he said, extending a hand. "Amaka," she replied, her small hand disappearing briefly within his larger one. A spark, unseen and unspoken, flickered in the humid air of the shop. That brief encounter, seemingly insignificant, became the pebble that started an unexpected avalanche. First came a simple text message, "Thank you again, Amaka." Then a phone call, his voice a warm melody in the quiet of her evenings. These calls became a nightly ritual, stretching into the late hours until the weak battery of her phone surrendered to the demands of their burgeoning connection. Kenechukwu, it turned out, was based in the bustling metropolis of Lagos, a world away from the dusty streets of Aba. He was an IT consultant, the driven founder of a promising startup. He found Amaka's quiet sincerity a refreshing balm to the often superficial interaction of his world. He told her that talking to her felt like coming home, a sentiment that resonated deeply within her. Amaka, initially shy and hesitant, found herself opening up to him. She shared stories of her mother's unwavering strength, the playful antics of her younger siblings, the simple beauty of her village. She spoke her truth without artifice, without trying to impress him with borrowed glamour or fabricated sophistication. By the 3rd month, Kenechukwu made another trip to Aba, but this time his purpose was not the acquisition of electronics. He came solely to see her. Tonia and Chioma, despite their self-imposed bubble of social media and superficiality, were not entirely oblivious. They noticed the hushed phone calls Amaka would take in the corner, a soft smile playing on her lips. They observed the way her eyes would light up when her phone vibrated, and they certainly couldn't ignore the tall, well-dressed man who now bypassed their carefully applied charm and went straight to Amaka, his gaze holding a warmth that excluded them. "Wait a minute," Chioma whispered to Tonia one slow afternoon, her perfectly manicured finger pausing mid-scroll. "Isn't that the waterman?" Tonia blinked, her expression a mixture of disbelief and something akin to dawning horror. He's coming all the way from Lagos for this girl. Ha! This life no balance, so. A subtle shift occurred in their interaction with Amaka. The boisterous laughter that once filled the shop seemed to dim in her presence. Their gazes, once dismissive, now held a sharp, assessing quality, laced with a growing resentment. They whispered amongst themselves, their heads bent conspiratorially. Their words too low for Amaka to hear. But Amaka remained steadfast. She didn't flaunt the attention she was receiving. She continued to treat them with the same quiet politeness, still sweeping the shop floor, still greeting every customer with a respectful nod. Her humility seemed to only fuel their simmering resentment. Then one ordinary morning, Amaka placed a neatly folded piece of paper on the shop owner's desk. Why? The man asked, his brow furrowed with surprise. As he read the contents, Amaka smiled, a radiant, genuine smile that reached her eyes. I am getting married, she announced softly. I am moving to Lagos. A stunned silence descended upon the shop, broken only by the faint hum of the stubbornly persistent fluorescent lights. Tonia and Chioma stared at Amaka, their mouths agape. The carefully constructed facades of their coolness crumbled. Doubt lingered in their eyes until the arrival of the invitation. It was a heavy cream-colored card, aged in simmering gold. The names Amaka and Kenechukwu embossed in elegant, raised lettering. The details followed. The traditional ceremony in Omofo, the white wedding on Lagos Island. The dates clearly marked. Tonia read it twice. Her perfectly painted lips paused in disbelief. Chioma snatched it from her hand and read it 3 times. Her usual sharp wit momentarily deserting her. This village girl, she's marrying a tech bro. Chioma finally stammered, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. And it all started with just 1 bottle of water, Tonia whispered, her gaze distant. A flicker of regret or perhaps self-recrimination crossing her face. He asked us first for water. The unspoken weight of their callousness hung heavy in the air. On the day of the traditional wedding, a delivery arrived at the shop. Large coolers filled with jollof rice, peppered chicken, and an assortment of drinks. Attached to each cooler were small handwritten thank you notes from Amaka. Her simple script conveying a warmth that their designer clothes and expensive wigs could never replicate. The aroma of the food filled the shop, a bittersweet reminder of their missed opportunity and Amaka's unexpected triumph. In her new life in the upscale neighborhood of Lekki, Amaka moved with the same quiet grace that had defined her in the bustling market of Aba. Her rubber slippers were replaced by soft leather sandals, her plain skirts by elegant Ankara gowns that spoke of a quiet confidence. She enrolled in a part-time degree program, her thirst for knowledge finally being quenched. And she poured her burgeoning resources into a foundation aimed at providing vocational training for young girls from rural backgrounds, determined to offer others the opportunities she had fought so hard to attain. When people inquired about how she met her husband, she would laugh, a gentle melodic sound. I just gave him water, she would say, her eyes twinkling with a quiet amusement. But those who had witnessed the initial encounter, those who understood the subtle dynamics of the shop, knew it was never just about water. It was about the humility that shone through her simple attire, the genuine kindness that transcended the petty concerns of her colleagues, the quiet strength that lay beneath her unassuming demeanor. It was about grace, simple, powerful grace that had arrived in sparkle electronics, wearing rubber slippers, carrying a bottle of water, and unknowingly holding the key to a future that Tonia and Chioma, in their pursuit of fleeting glamour, had completely failed to see. However, the story doesn't end there. Back in Aba, in the dimly lit confines of sparkle electronics, a seed of resentment had taken root in the hearts of Tonia and Chioma. Their whispers about Amaka became sharper, laced with a bitterness that festered with each passing day. They couldn't comprehend how someone they had deemed local had managed to escape their perceived limitations and find such happiness. The wedding invitation, the delicious food, these were not gestures of goodwill to them, but rather stinging reminders of their own perceived failures. Unbeknownst to Amaka, a subtle campaign of whispers and half-truths began to circulate amongst their acquaintances in Aba. They painted a picture of Amaka as cunning and manipulative, a village girl who had used a calculated act of false humility to ensnare a wealthy Lagos man. Their envy twisted the narrative, transforming Amaka's kindness into a calculated ploy. One day, a mutual friend, someone who occasionally patronized Sparkle Electronics, mentioned these whispers to Kenechukwu during a business trip to Lagos. A shadow crossed his usual cheerful face. He trusted Amaka implicitly, but the seed of doubt, however small, had been planted. He decided to keep this information from her for now, not wanting to taint their newfound happiness, but the knot of unease tightened in his stomach. The future, like life itself, remained unpredictable. Would the whispers reach Amaka? Would the seeds of envy sown in the dusty shop in Aba blossom into something more sinister? And would the love that had blossomed over a simple bottle of water be strong enough to withstand the unseen currents of hatred and intrigue that now threatened to pull them apart? The answer, like next unexpected downpour, remained hidden just beyond the horizon.